solution for global economic revival. But as Graham Mackay reports, there's also plenty of skepticism surrounding the ambitious programme.
It's a massive trade and infrastructure plan spanning 3 continents with investment in the hundreds of billions. China's new Silk Road project aims to link Asia, Africa and Europe in an ambitious programme over land and sea known as Belt and Road. Beijing will be unveiling its plans to leaders from 28 countries at a highly publicised summit next week. But as Ben Blanchard reports from the capital, for all the hype, there's also a lot of scepticism.
Western countries look at it and say, well, actually, we don't really know what this is about. China's given very few details. And there is also belief that actually this is really just about China seeking to dominate the world. China very strongly denies any of these allegations, really, and says that's not what it's about at all, and this is perhaps a willful misunderstanding of its intentions.
Beijing is extremely sensitive to any criticism about Belt and Road, which it insists is a solution for global economic revival that benefits everyone. It says next week's summit has an open-door policy, but that too has raised eyebrows.
China has said all along that the Belt and Road Initiative is open to all, that anybody can attend. However, we understand that actually invitations were issued to countries, and this invitation has reached countries like North Korea and Syria. And, some of the diplomats have expressed concern in private about the high prominence given to some leaders from countries with poor human rights backgrounds. And that, of course, includes Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte.
But that's clearly not enough to put China off casting a wide net and defending Belt and Road to the hilt. In the words of one opinion piece in state media, as Confucius once said, he who wants success should enable others to succeed.
Back locally, 5 protesters charged with rioting over the violent clashes in Mongkok last year have pleaded not guilty in court. The case has been adjourned to Friday and all 5 have been granted bail. The hearing is expected to last for 15 days, during which 15 witnesses will be summoned. Police ended the largest security drill of the year today at the Auxiliary Police Headquarters in Kowloon Bay. The 4-day exercise included terror attack simulations where armed terrorists drove into busy crowds with weapons and explosives. The Counter-Terrorism Response Unit and emergency units were among those who took part. The anti-terror drills were held in several districts to ramp up the force's ability to handle multiple large-scale incidents at the same time. Now, the United Nations is seeking a further $900 million this year for Somalia. The country desperately needs humanitarian aid, with nearly 300,000 children at risk of starvation. This was announced at an international conference on Somalia hosted by the UK. The country has been in turmoil since 1991, hit by decades of conflict at the hands of clan militias. British Prime Minister Theresa May said the international community's commitment to Somalia matters because it's right and because the challenges there affect us all.
If Somalia is a foothold for terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab and Daesh, if global trade is hijacked by pirates in the Indian Ocean, or if millions are continually displaced in a desperate bid to escape poverty and drought, the impact of instability in Somalia is felt across the whole region and the wider world.
Around 350 migrants were rescued off the coast of Libya on Wednesday. Libyan Coast Guard pulled them out of the packed wooden boats and returned them to Tripoli. The Navy colonel said the group included migrants from Tunisia, Morocco, Syria, Egypt and Bangladesh. Libya is the main departure point for migrants hoping to reach Europe by sea.
I've been trying to migrate to Europe for the past 6 months to rejoin my children. I left the war in Syria and went to Jordan, where I didn't benefit from anything as it was still an Arab country. I then went to Lebanon, where I wasn't accepted. Egypt and Sudan were the same.
To Latin America next, and former Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva made a fiery defense against corruption charges leveled at him during the first day of his court case. He called the charges illegitimate and a farce. Thousands of his supporters descended on Curitiba, where the trial is being held, to back him. Lula is accused of accepting a beach apartment in return for helping a construction firm win government contracts. He's the highest profile defendant in a massive corruption probe known as Operation Car Wash, and is charged in 4 other cases besides this one. Tens of thousands of Argentines protested against a Supreme Court's ruling that would cut down jail time for those convicted of human rights abuses during the so-called Dirty War. People were enraged as the court ruled in favour of cutting short the sentence of Luis Muña, who was given 30 years in jail for kidnap and torture. The decision was based on the country's 2-for-1 law, which allows every day spent in jail before a final sentence to count for 2 days when more than 2 years have been served. Congress responded by passing a law to block future sentence reductions for those convicted of the 1976 to 1983 military dictatorship. And tense scenes across Venezuela as anti-government protesters clashed with the National Guard amid a rising death toll. Decrying the country's economic crisis and demanding elections, protesters in Caracas faced off with riot police who dispersed them with water cannon and tear gas. In the restive city of Táchira, young Venezuelan demonstrators joined in the nationwide protest. Things heated up as they lobbed at police what they called poop-it-off cocktails, feces stuffed in glass bottles. The latest violence follows the death of a motorcyclist who was shot in the head. At least 39 people have died in the unrest since early April. Pharmacies in Chile are blazing the trail to starting to sell marijuana-based medicine this week. They're the first in Latin America to offer such treatments, covering problems such as types of cancer, Parkinson's, and chronic pain. Up until this point, patients in Chile could only obtain cannabis remedies via imports from dedicated farms. Chile legalized medical marijuana back in 2015 and is among a number of South American countries gradually loosening laws around production and distribution.
The Public Health Institute authorised it for chronic pain, but internationally it is being used for nausea, vomiting, for refractory epilepsy and for Parkinson's. There are several studies today that accompany the product, and doctors, as they review all the information and try the product.
Up next, the latest from the world of sports. Starting with football, Real Madrid survived an Atletico Madrid onslaught to reach the Champions League final for the third time the last 4 seasons. Diego Simeone's men lost 2-1, they won 2-1, but to go through 4-2 on aggregate, setting up a mouth-watering clash against Juventus on June 3rd in Cardiff. Atletico roared into a 2-goal lead with a Saul Niguez header and Antoine Griezmann's penalty, but Isco notched one back on the 42nd minute to dampen their hopes of a comeback. Real have eliminated Atletico from the competition in 4 consecutive seasons, including the dramatic 2014 and 2016 finals. Meantime, in the Europa League, Spain's Celta Vigo is preparing for their clash against Manchester United in the second leg of their semi-final tie. The Spaniards said the game is one of the biggest